United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such objects exist.
I was literally just gonna say, should I pee before, but it's fine.
No, you gotta push through now.
Oh, fucking hell. Hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I am freshly touched up lips. Can you tell?
Yeah, and I'm Chelsea, the thin, villainous lips over here, just like I'm working on starting my villain origin story because I'm so fucking thin-lipped.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have to buy anyone a new PlayStation for Christmas anymore, so... Mama got herself some new lips.
I want lips so bad.
Well, I gave you the option for your birthday. I said, what do you want? Do you want money for lips or do you want money for tattoo? You said tattoo, so that's your own fault.
I'm not upset with that choice. I think I would still make that choice again because what I really want is for Oliver to get me lips. Look at this. I look British.
You do. I wasn't going to say it, but you said it first, so.
I got like Tom Holland's little cracker lips.
When you smile, the top one disappears completely.
Well, if I do that.
Hey, colonizer. That's what your lips look like.
Hey, colonizer.
Hey, colonizer. That's what your lips. Well, you know, Christmas is around the corner.
No, I don't think he would. He hates lips.
You never know. You never know. You can't like. You have to just like say it in ways that don't allow for jokes to be made. So you would have to be like in a serious conversation, be like, it would really mean a lot to me and like my self-confidence if I got like lip injections, and I wouldn't do a full. I would just want to do a half. You know, like something natural. Yeah, I know. Everyone does. Everyone, you know, this is, my friend Cassie and I went and we split a vial. So we both got halves because for me, I try to do it every 8 months. So I really only need to do a half. So it's half the price as well. Holla. But, she was nervous. It was her first time doing it. And I was like, here's what I'm going to tell you. It doesn't hurt. They numb you really well. It pinches. It's whatever. And even the girl that I go to, they have lidocaine in the injection. So after that first guy, it starts to like even numb from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is the only thing I will guarantee you about getting your lips done. You will want them bigger. You will want more. Mm-hmm. You will do that half and you will realize how like comfortable and cute they look. And then you'll be like, you'll like the way that they look swollen, which is how they would look with a full. And you'll be like, yep. And then sure as shit, 48 hours after we got them done, she was like, you're right. Want them bigger.
Yeah. Dude, I want Alaska Thunderfuck lips, you know? This is like,
yeah, same, me too. But it's expensive. And every time I am on the road to getting there, like I have to like stop for a minute and then they deflate and I'm like, Meh.
Yeah, like if I could just like chisel everything out. Dumb fucking potato face. I'm sick of it.
I got an estimate on a procedure and it does not make me happy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Just to like it would basically so like after you turn 25, obviously everything starts to fall apart. And for me, I've noticed it like with the elasticity around my like cheeks. Mm-hmm. And so like just to like get them like pulled up a little bit. Yeah.
I would love that.
About 1,400.
Oh, that's cheaper than I thought. Like I need to get an eventual nose job to like fix the sinus damage that I have. But I think that's like $3,000 minimum.
Well, yeah, if you're doing like the lipo on the chin, yeah, it's not cheap. But anyway, if there are any sugar daddies out there who want to see me at my perfection, I think I'm at a perfect age right now, 30 years old, where you can no longer say like, you're too young for plastic surgery. No, I'm not. And I still think that I'm young enough that like I have elastin still in my face a little bit. Like I can bounce back. If you invest in me now, it would be worth your money is all I'm trying to say. That's the pitch I'm saying. I'm not 45 and trying to work backwards. I'm just saying like,
yeah, Oliver, I hope you're listening.
Investment.
You love investing in shit and saving money. put your money into my face.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's
all I'm saying. Okay. Let me get that fucking... Now that we got that out of the way.
I am so fucking excited for tonight's episode.
Yeah, so I made you stop telling me before we get into this. So, what's your deal with Edgar Allan Poe?
Okay. Do you remember Encyclopedia Britannica? The CD-ROM that would come in and then you'd put it in?
I remember the encyclopedia.
No, it was like a specific program for Windows computers, but we didn't really have like internet. We didn't have like updated things on the computer. We had Solitaire as a game. So my only exploration of the outer world was Encyclopedia Britannica.
This makes so much fucking sense.
So I used to like go through and just read articles upon articles upon articles in there of like certain cool things. And I stumbled across Edgar Allan Poe. Mm-hmm. And I still fucking remember, because of Encyclopedia Britannica, the opening sentence to The Raven, because it's once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a rapping, as of someone gently rapping on my chamber door. 'Tis a visitor, I murmured, rapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. Fucking Encyclopedia Britannica! I have a head injury and I pulled that out.
Wow.
I probably flubbed up some of the words, but I'm just saying, I became so obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe that my mom bought me these like dark plaid straight jeans, like slacks that they would have worn back in those times, and like suspenders, everything. Put my hair up in a clip and gave me like dark hairspray so I could dress up as Edgar Allan Poe at school. Is like my personal hero.
How many days of the week did you dress as Edgar Allan Poe?
Well, I have pictures of me in those pants because I wore them like every day. But yeah, I had my parents, like, I cut my hair short and everything because I wanted to have like short Edgar Allan Poe hair. I was fucking obsessed with him, right? Like, I used to find strangers on the bus because my mom used to just put us on the bus for Lagoon in the summer. I'd like find people and be like, "Do you know about Edgar Allan Poe?" And these fucking adults would have to put up with me. So I'm not by no means an Edgar Allan Poe expert. I just have so much fucking love for him.
You sound like you might be, honestly.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Some of this might refresh me, like where he went to school at like Westminster or whatever.
Here's the thing. I might disappoint you a little bit because I mean, granted, a big fat fucking chunk of this is his life, but I skimmed through, summarized, and skipped over like a lot of stuff in there because this is not, to me, I do not want this to be an episode about Edgar Allan Poe. Maybe you can come back and do an episode about Edgar Allan Poe. To me, this is going to be about Edgar Allan Poe's death and the conspiracy surrounding it.
I love that.
So
anything with Edgar Allan Poe, dude. I'm not going to complain.
As long as, because just know I do not do his life story justice. But
you bring me fucking wine to my home. You think I'm going to complain what kind it is? Hell no.
Okay.
Just get me drunk.
I just want to make sure that's the vibe we're all on.
100%.
Not just you, but everyone listening. So, here's a fun little fact for you. Do you know that the Baltimore Ravens mascot, its name is Poe?
I genuinely did not fucking know that.
Did you know that when originally unveiled, Poe was one of 3 costumed Raven mascots, all Raven brothers named Edgar, Allan, and Poe, respectively?
I didn't know that, but now I'm like, I could have named Bear Poe.
You could have.
Poe.
That would have actually been cute. God, you're an idiot!
We gotta change his name.
Fake fan. You're a fake fan.
Fake fan. Yep, fake fan.
And this is because the Baltimore Ravens were named after the poem The Raven by Baltimore resident Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
There you go. The more you know, Rainbow, as it shoots across us.
That's something that we would hear at trivia.
Yeah.
Like, what are the names of the Baltimore Raven?
That could be if anyone's like getting a new job or meeting new people. That's like your fun fact for the day.
Yeah.
But this isn't a story about the NFL mascots or the Baltimore Ravens. In Poe fashion, we are going to talk about his life a little, honestly, but most importantly, his death, as I said, and the conspiracies around it. So here is a quick little elevator pitch, and by elevator pitch, I mean not at all a pitch. This is just a summary of his entire life. Edgar Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts on January 19th, 1809. The second child of American actor David Poe Jr. and English-born actress Elizabeth Arnold Hopkins Poe. He had an elder brother, William, and a younger sister, Rosalie. After the birth of Edgar, the family ran low on money, and Poe's father, David, was an ill-tempered alcoholic for much of his life, and it's suggested this is why he abandoned his family in 1810 and disappeared from any historical record that I could find from this point.
You wish you could just do that.
Back in 1810, I think it was as easy as just like no longer telling anyone your name.
You just leave town.
You just leave. You just go 5 minutes over.
Yeah.
That's it.
Jealous.
I know.
You know, the people who like faked their deaths in 9/11, like, man. Then more than one person did it. Like, blows my mind.
Honestly, that would be a fun thing to look into.
Let me write it down, actually. That would be a fun thing to look into.
Who was it? Oh my God, someone's going to scream. Wasn't there a comedian who like made up an entire story that they were there on 9/11 but actually weren't? Wasn't it like Seth MacFarlane? Was it?
I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, please look it up. Please absolutely look it up. Also, I know this was news to you when I told you about how Gerard Way witnessing 9/11 is the reason why he created My Chemical Romance. Mm-hmm. And Stephenie Meyer listening to My Chemical Romance is what inspired her to write Twilight. Did you know that?
I didn't know the Stephenie Meyer Twilight thing. I thought that was a dream. But it was like a dream because of My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, she was just listening to a lot of My Chemical Romance. And as you know, My Chemical Romance is obsessed with vampires.
That's sick. Also, I couldn't find it. I just saw Tanya Head, the lady who pretended to be a survivor and wasn't.
Well, someone can yell. Someone's yelling, and I hope they tell us. So anyway, Poe's mother, Elizabeth, died a year later from consumption, or what we would now call tuberculosis. Poe was then taken into the home of John Allan. So, if you couldn't figure out now, that's where the Allan came from in Edgar Allan Poe. A successful merchant in Richmond, Virginia, who dealt in a variety of goods, including cloth, wheat, tombstones, tobacco, and people, unfortunately. The Allans served as a foster family, although they never formally adopted Edgar. And he traveled overseas with his adopted parents. I guess foster parents is the better word. Yeah. And stayed there for studies. Allan had no affection for Edgar, and in a later letter to Sergeant Samuel Graves, Poe stated that, quote, Mr. A, or Mr. Allan, is not very often sober.
So I'm assuming it was like the lady he was closer to? Like, how do you just find a home?
I was trying to look into how specifically he ended up with them. I couldn't find any definitive answers. Like, I'm not sure if it was a family friend situation or an acquaintance situation. I do know that the other siblings ended up with like other family members. Mm-hmm. So maybe it was just like a situation where all the other family members, like houses were too full at that point, taking on the other two kids.
Yeah.
And maybe it was like a friend of a friend, and they were like a well-off, you know, like couple who didn't have any kids, so it seemed fitting. But yeah, I couldn't get a definitive answer.
Yeah, people just picked children then and just had them.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure this was like in the time of orphanages, so you could literally just go and pick up a child.
Yeah.
So Poe ended up moving back with the Allans to Richmond, Virginia in 1820. Keep in mind, this is another part where I skipped over a bunch. He was overseas. He went to school. He went to like a boys' school. Whatever.
Yeah, he went to a pretty prestigious place, I thought, but
he definitely did. He went to multiple prestigious places, but yeah. I don't care. And he was back with the Allans in Richmond, Virginia in 1820. He had a love affair with Sarah Royster. Some say they were engaged. Some say she inspired the Raven and Annabel Lee. But no one should care because she was 15 when all this happened. And her dad broke them up right before Poe registered at the University of Virginia in February 1826 to study ancient and modern languages.
I know that age difference is creepy, but it also in like the early 1800s, wasn't that like basically middle-aged?
I mean, basically, but don't worry, his age problem is going to get worse as time goes on, and so this is just like a light orangey red flag. It's just foreshadowing how bad it's going to get. And that's why I don't think we should look over it and just say, 'twas the time.
Sure, fair.
The university was pretty new at this point, and in honor of its founder, Thomas Jefferson, it had strict rules against gambling, horses, guns, tobacco, and alcohol, but no one cared because Jefferson had enacted a system of student self-government, allowing students to choose their own studies, make their own arrangements for boarding, and reporting all, quote, wrongdoing themselves to faculty. Also, you are breathing into the mic and I'm going to kill you.
Sorry. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for breathing.
You should be, because it's loud.
I don't know what to do. I can't afford my nose job, Noelle. God damn it. I said that already.
Between you unwrapping things and spinning pens and eating the microphone, this has nothing to do with the nose job and everything to do with you being a goblin.
That's fair. Also, Puffin's been like licking my foot this whole time, so there's going to be weird licking audio too. I know. They just like feet. They're fucking little goblins. I don't know what to do. I like move my foot. I can't get up and leave because we're recording.
You need to handle your shit.
Well, I'm reaching down and petting him now and then to like get his focus elsewhere.
Get all your shit.
Yeah.
Get it together. Put it in a backpack. Okay. So anyway, during his time there, Poe lost touch with his child girlfriend, and he and Allan were at odds with each other over Poe's gambling debts that he kept having to clean up. And Edgar Allan Poe was doing like that classic, like just sleazeball thing, where he would like write his foster dad and be like, "You didn't give me enough money. I don't have any food. I can't get books. I don't have anything to wear." And then he would like be like, "Oh my god, sorry." And then he would like send him shit. He would send him money. He would send him new clothes, and it was never enough. And
but he didn't even like him. That's why I'm so confused at relationships at that point. People just decided that you're an obligation.
Well, I think it was more like he felt responsible for him, and like Poe just like took advantage of the fact that he knew that he had a little chunk of change, you know. So,
damn.
I think they were. I honestly, if you want my opinion, I think they were mutually awful to each other.
Sure, that's fair. Maybe they had a secret. They were secretly in love with each other. They could never act on it because of the times.
I don't think it's that. I just think it's two men who are not well.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
A tale as old as time, honestly.
Yep, you're right.
Two men who are not well.
You're right.
So, anyway, as you could tell, not only was the school chaos, but like his fucking life was chaos, so it was no surprise when Poe dropped out. And like a true sad boy, he refused to go back to Virginia after finding out his girlfriend, whom he had ghosted, married another man, Alexander Shelton.
He's like, I gave her nothing and she took all of it. How dare she?
I can't believe I gave her nothing and abandoned her, and then she left me.
A surprise Pikachu face.
Oh, man. So he packed up and went to Boston in April of 1827, sustaining himself with odd jobs as a clerk and a newspaper writer until he could barely afford food in his mouth, and much like most Americans at some point in their life, enlisted in the United States Army on May 27th, 1827. Using the name Edgar A. Perry, also, he uses a bunch of different aliases for whatever fucking reason. I just choose not to really talk about him. I don't know why he does.
Also, he was only 22? Claiming he was 22, he was only 18?
Yeah, he was 18.
Why was the 15-year-old's dad... Because this happened like a few years earlier, so they're not that far off age-wise. He just didn't like Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, like, imagine... Okay, I'm going to be on the dad's side here. Okay?
No, I thought when you... the age difference...
Edgar Allan Poe... Yeah, no, he was only 18. He was only 18. She was 15. That's still illegal, Chelsea. But the thing is like, he couldn't even make it through school a year without gambling his money away.
No, I agree.
You really want your daughter to marry him?
She ended up better off. I'm just surprised.
Foreshadowing again, she will end off very well off. And like her dad intervening is probably the best thing that's ever happened to her in her fucking life. I'll say that.
We love our dads on this episode.
Yeah.
No, well, me always episodes and you always episodes. I don't know what I'm saying. This is a dad.
Your love for Edgar Allan Poe just tried to make you blind to a good dad doing good dad things. That's what you need to come to terms with.
I know. I've got it down bad.
So get right with yourself. And so he enlisted under the fake name, and this will be important in a second, claiming he was 22, even though he was only 18. He first served at Fort Independence in Boston Harbor for a mere $5 a month. That same year, he released his first book, a 40-page collection of poems titled, do you want to read this since you know? Do you know Tamburlaine and Other Poems?
No.
Apparently not. So, much like you, it received virtually no attention. It had like an attributed byline from the Bostonian, but only 50 copies were printed. He served for 2 years and attained the rank of Sergeant Major for the artillery, which is the highest rank that a non-commissioned officer could achieve. And don't worry, he did go from, I think, $5 to $9 pay, so watch out, big pimpin'.
Damn, I wish I got a $4 raise at one time.
Right? But the sad boy call was in his blood, and he sought to end his 5-year enlistment early. And this is where the drama comes in. He revealed his real name and his circumstances to his commanding officer, Lieutenant Howard. And what?
I read ahead and it just seems like it's a fucking Hallmark movie.
I know. The lieutenant would only allow Poe to be discharged if he reconciled with his foster dad, Alan.
Like, burr, burr, tune in at 9 to see if he does reconcile.
Well,
that's weird.
I know, isn't it? But I guess that's like 1800s military law. They're like, you just gotta say sorry.
Yeah.
Poe did write a letter to Alan, but Alan didn't care, and he kind of ignored Poe for months. Ignored him enough to not even tell him that his foster mom, was getting sick. It wasn't... I know. It wasn't until his foster mom's death on February 28th, 1829, where Poe was allowed to visit. He was there the day after the burial. And maybe it's just because he was feeling soft, but it was after that Alan agreed to accept his apology and support Poe's attempt to be discharged. He was finally discharged on April 15th, 1829, after securing a replacement to finish his enlistment term for him, and he was able to attend the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York.
I didn't know that someone could just take over the lease of your military enlistment.
Again, I think this is 1829 rules. I don't think the Army will be like, what if I get them to cover my shift?
Right?
They're going to be like, no, we want you and them. I think the times were a little different. So, back in 1829, you could be discharged from your service by saying sorry to your dad and getting someone to cover your shift. That is not the case. You cannot do that anymore. So, before doing that, he jumped down to Baltimore to stay with his aunt, cousins, and brother. It was this same year Poe's poetry was finally given a review by the influential critic John Neal, prompting Poe to later dedicate one of his poems in his second release to Neal. There's like a really sweet quote that I didn't add in here that I will totally mess up and paraphrase, but it basically was like Edgar Allan Poe being like, this was the first time I felt like worth it. Mm-hmm. I was like given inspiration that it was all worth it. It was super sad and cute. But anyway, basically at this point, he went to the military academy at West Point, officially getting disowned by Alan, his foster dad, because Poe was always in the middle of fights with his foster dad's new wife. And it basically became, it's either him or me. And
he's like, the boy that's not even mine, who I don't even like.
Yeah, easy choice. Mm-hmm. Poe bailed from the academy. Oh my God. That was me saying academy and February at the same time. From the academy on February 8th, 1831. He was tried for gross neglect of duty and disobedience of orders for refusing to attend formations, classes, or church. Honestly, that's all he had to do to just like not get in trouble. But he did it on purpose, honestly. Yeah. And he pleaded not guilty to induced dismissal, knowing that he would be found guilty. And that was pretty much it. He just played the system.
It happens. You got to be smarter than you got to be smarter.
Yeah,
get fucked over.
Poe left for New York in February of 1831 and released a third volume of poems simply titled Poems.
Yeah, succinct. Smart.
The book was financed. This is really cute. The book was financed with help from his fellow cadets at West Point, many of whom donated 75 cents to the cause, raising a total of $170. And had the words, quote, "To the U.S. Corps of Cadets, this volume is respectfully dedicated."
That is actually super sweet.
Yeah, like especially when you think about how they super believed in him. Yeah. Especially when you think about how little they made, like all of them donating 75 cents each, enough of them to get $170. Like that's fucking incredible. It's super cool.
Yeah, that is so sweet.
I know, I love it. He returned to Baltimore in March 1831 due to his brother's ill health from alcoholism. His brother would then die 5 months later.
Okay.
After his brother's death, he began actual attempts to start his career as a writer, but it was a bit of a shit show in American publishing at this time due to no international copywriting law. So American publishers would rather produce unauthorized copies of British works rather than pay for new work by Americans. The Panic of 1837 brought growth in American periodicals, or like magazines, in part by new technology like printing presses and shit, but most died after a few issues. Publishers often refused to pay their writers or pay them much later than they promised, and unfortunately, Poe was that type of guy who would resort to humiliating pleas on his hands and knees, begging for money and other assistance.
That's terrible.
I know, it is kind of sad. It is sad.
Because, I don't know. As usual, the corporate greed makes people's lives miserable for no reason.
Oh, I know it. It's almost like capitalism has been around here ruining shit since forever. This is fucking 1830. And they were like, we're not going to pay the, like, homegrown... Think about that. Think about that, too. You know, everyone's like, the jobs are in China. This is 1830. And they were like, we're not going to invest in American authors. We're just going to keep fucking ripping British shit and selling it. Because it's cheaper for us.
No integrity or interest in the quote-unquote American worker. It almost seems like that's the culture that has persevered. And everyone always wants to say that their heritage is being erased. But it's
persevered, it's almost like that's the heritage in which this country was built on. That is the foundation, baby. So, you know, I digress. He wrote for any magazine that would take him, or periodical, whatever you want to call it. He never stopped struggling, but we can all say, and historians will all agree, despite his struggle and never ends in poverty, he was one of the first Americans to live by writing alone.
It's just like us. We're following in his footsteps.
It's true. That's why I'm so poor and sad.
That's what I meant.
I am poor and sad because I too have followed the delusion that writing is a career. I will say everyone could be paid more. That's all I'll say. Everyone in this country should be paid more because it's not fucking fair or fun that everything is so goddamn expensive just to live. I live in a shoebox for almost after utilities over $1,000, and that's not fucking fair.
Yeah, it's not.
I live in Salt Lake City too. I don't even live in LA. Give me somewhere cool to be if you're going to charge me this much. Anyway,
Salt Lake City's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah,
you can't. You live in Ogden. You don't have fucking opinions here. So anyway,
God, how dare you, Noelle? It costs like $16 to do fucking Uber Eats of Starbucks to my house. It used to only be like $5.
That's what you get?
No.
Speaking of struggling, Edgar Allan Poe became an assistant editor of a periodical in August 1835, but was fired within a few weeks for being drunk on the job.
Dude, they got drinking problems in that family, and I think somebody should have sat them down and let them know about how generational issues like that can really make your life harder.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone was having conversations about healthy lifestyle choices
if only
generational alcoholism.
If only Mr. Allen would have hugged all the broken pieces back together.
Yeah.
It all would have been so different.
That's the thing. It's also like so strange to me when like his history will talk about like all these people dying of alcoholism and everyone was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
What? Well, that'll happen. It's just like, just as it was just, they accepted it just like tuberculosis. They're like, well,
yeah.
you know,
it'd be like that though. Like it makes
happens.
sense. You like to dance.
Yeah.
Like
So
just
fucking
some weird, yeah.
So weird. So anyway, after this, he returned to Baltimore, where he obtained a license to marry his 13-year-old cousin, Virginia.
Whoops.
Yeah. On September 22nd, 1835. It's unknown if they were actually married at this time, but we'll get back to that. He was 26.
Yeah, that's gross.
And she was a child, and not just a child,
also gross.
His cousin.
3 times gross.
So, put him in jail. He got his assistant editor job back, the one that he was fired from being drunk, after promising good behavior. And he went back to Richmond with his child bride cousin and her mother.
Oh, she was okay with it. All right.
I mean,
She was also a victim of the times, I'm sure.
Yeah. He remained at this job until January 1837, publishing several poems, book reviews, critiques, and stories. And on May 16th, 1836, he and his child cousin bride, Virginia, that's her name, held a Presbyterian wedding ceremony at their Richmond boarding house, with their witnesses lying for them, saying that Virginia was 21. So,
I'm going to say hell yeah, but only because hell yeah, Presbyterian wedding. But that's it. Everything else in there was awful.
The Presbyterian wedding is what allowed him to marry a child. So,
you're wrong.
Maybe think about that. But the only positive is at this point, his writing started to take off. His novel, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, I don't know, I can't read, of Nantucket, was published and widely reviewed in 1838. In the summer of 1839, he became assistant editor of Burton's Gentleman magazine. He published numerous articles, stories, reviews, and enhanced his reputation as a sharp critic. And in 1839, the collection Tales of the Grotesque was published in 2 volumes. So he made little money.
You fucking cheater! The Tales of Grotesque and Arabesque.
Arabesque.
You just drop off entire titles of books because you can't.
Well, I was only talking about the first volume, not the entirety of it. So he made little money from it and received mixed reviews.
He's still in his early 20s though, so like even if he made little money off of it, that still blows my mind that people had the opportunity to be that successful.
Yeah, he had published 3 bodies of work by 22.
Insane.
So, pretty cool. Around this time, Poe attempted to secure a position within the administration of President John Tyler, claiming that he was a member of the Whig Party. But he failed to show up for a meeting with his mutual, Frederick Thomas, who was going to get him the job. Poe claimed he was sick. Thomas believed he had been drunk.
You know, he always has these opportunities to be even greater than he was, and he was just self-sabotage. That's disappointing.
A story as old as time.
Mm-hmm. Alcoholics who self-sabotage, yeah.
Yeah. One evening in January 1842, Virginia showed the first signs of tuberculosis while singing and playing the piano. Poe described it as breaking a blood vessel in her throat.
That's also how my singing is described.
Yeah, same. Oh. She never fully recovered, and Poe began to drink more heavily under the stress of her illness. He was on the hunt for new jobs, went to New York to start some poet beef with other writers who never really responded, which is kind of funny to me. And on January 29th, 1845, his poem, The Raven, appeared in the Evening Mirror and became pretty popular. Popular enough that it made him a household name almost instantly. The tragedy, as it so follows Edgar Allan Poe, he was only paid $9 for its publication.
That's absurd.
Crazy.
Dude, even the original writers or creators of Superman got shafted. They used to have to beg for money.
Yep. Unfortunately, Virginia died at the cottage in Fordham, New York on January 30th, 1847 of tuberculosis.
Sad.
I know.
How old was she?
I don't know, probably 15.
She was 13 in 1835.
Do your math, Chelsea. How old was she?
So...
Are you kidding me? Do you need me to do it? Do you need me to get my calculator out?
25?
Oh my god. Okay, there you go. 1847 minus, what was it? 1835? That math's not there. That's not math. It said 12 on my calculator. I don't think I had that.
That's because 12 years had passed between the wedding and then. So you add 12 to our age of 13.
I forgot to do the second half.
You came for me. I was trying to be correct in my head.
Yeah, she was 25. So he became a fucking mess. He attempted to court poet Sarah Helen Whittam, who lived in Rhode Island.
He immediately tried to replace her.
Just with another poet. But their engagement failed because of his drinking and erratic behavior. And when I tried to look up examples of his erratic behavior, the ones that were like documented were just like his chronic lying and argumentative, disorderly, nothing violent, but just like not a guy you want around, like a loose cannon.
Just a little disagreeable, but it was the 1800s, so that was obscene behavior.
I think he was more than a little disagreeable. I think he was like pushing chairs around and shit and mumbling. And
scooting a chair.
He wasn't scooting. He would be like, he would like walk into a bar and be like, and then like hit a chair. And they were like, there's old Edgar Allan Poe being erratic
comedy. Yeah. He was mildly inconveniencing people, and you can't do that in polite society.
Again, you're simping for Edgar Allan Poe. I said his chronic lying, and you're like, free my mans. Free my mans. He then returned to Richmond in 1848 to try and win back the first child he wanted to marry, Sarah Royster.
They always come back. You can't come back, Eddie.
And her husband had died, leaving her and her 2 kids, she had 4, 2 didn't make it past like infancy, to inherit $100,000. 1830s money.
I look that up.
Okay. $100,000. With the stipulation that she would lose a portion of this estate if she ever remarried. And honestly, there's probably a historian out there who's like, her late husband did this because he wanted to keep her like an independent, strong woman in like, you know, the East Coast at the time. And then there's part of me that's like, this is that petty shit.
Yeah.
This is that petty shit. This is that petty shit that's like, I never want you to remarry after me. I want you to wake up and think about me from the moment the crows fucking, no, what is it? Chickens.
The chickens come home.
The chickens come home to crow.
Petty recognizes petty, and I love this energy because whenever, do you ever see the TikToks where it's like, if I ever die and you tell my husband that I want him to be happy and move on, like, no the fuck I don't. Like, think of me every day. Yeah.
I will haunt you.
Yeah. Also, $100,000 in the 1800s is the equivalency of $2,365,174.60 today.
See? Ballin'. She was a millionaire.
She's fine. Yeah.
She'd be great. So they did rekindle their relationship, unfortunately, probably from all the grooming he did to her when she was a child.
Right.
Poe pressed her hard to marry him, but she was hesitant and her children did not approve. Poe left Richmond, Virginia on September 27th, 1849 for a quick job in Philadelphia to edit a collection of poems for Miss St. Leon Loud. And that would be the last anyone spoke to or saw Poe until a rainy day in Baltimore, specifically October 3rd, 1849. Joseph W. Walker, a compositor for Baltimore Sun, was heading out to Gunner's Hall. It was election day, and Gunners Hall served as a pop-up polling location for the 4th Ward polls. When Walker arrived at Gunners Hall, he found a man, delirious and dressed in shabby secondhand clothes, lying in the gutter, literally. The man was semi-conscious and unable to move, but as Walker approached the man, he realized it was none other than Edgar Allan Poe. Walker stopped and asked Poe if he had any acquaintances in Baltimore that might be able to help him. Poe gave Walker the name of Joseph E. Snodgrass, a magazine editor with some medical training. Immediately, Walker penned Snodgrass a letter asking for help. Do you want to read what it is?
Yeah. Baltimore City, October 3rd, 1849. Dear Sir, there's a gentleman, rather the worse for wear, at Ryan's 4th Ward polls, who goes under the cognomen of Edgar A. Poe, and who appears in great distress, and he says he is acquainted with you. He is in immediate need of assistance. Yours, in haste, Jos W. Walker, to Dr. J. E. Snodgrass.
Poe was described as being in a delirious disarray outside of the polling place. Poe had never made it to Philadelphia to his editing business. He never regained enough consciousness to explain what the fuck happened, why he was in dirty, piss-soaked clothes that were not his, incoherent on the streets. He spent his final days wavering between fits of delirium and visual hallucination. The night before his death, according to his attending physician, Dr. John J. Morin, Poe repeatedly called out for Reynolds, a figure who to this day remains a mystery, and his attending physician said that Poe's final words were, quote, "Lord help my poor soul." Edgar Allan Poe died on October 7th, 1849 at 5 a.m. in Washington Medical College. Now, this is where we get to the meat and potatoes, and we'll cover some theories as to what the fuck happened. These theories are reported in Enemy of the Podcast, the Smithsonian Magazine. First theory might not come as a shock to anyone. Drinking.
Yeah.
Quote, a lot of the ideas that have come up over the years have centered around the fact that Poe couldn't handle alcohol. It has been documented that after a glass of wine, he was staggering drunk. His sister had the same problem. It seems to be something hereditary, end quote. Months before his death, though, Poe became a vocal member of the temperance movement, giving up alcohol altogether.
I tried.
Just girl, you hold your fucking tongue, bitch. Biographer Susan Archer Talley Weiss recalls in her biography, quote, "The last days of Edgar Allan Poe. Poe had fallen ill in Richmond, and after making a somewhat miraculous recovery, was told by his attending physician that, quote, another such attack would prove fatal, end quote. According to Weiss, Poe replied that, quote, if people would not tempt him, he would not fall, suggesting that the first illness was brought on by a bout of drinking. His close friend, J.P. Kennedy, wrote on October 10th, 1849, quote, on Tuesday last, Edgar A. Poe died in town here at the hospital from the effects of a debauch, ... He fell in with some companion here who seduced him to the bottle, which it was said he had renounced some time ago. The consequence was fever, delirium, and madness, and in a few days, a termination of his sad career in the hospital. Poor Poe. A bright but unsteady light has been awfully quenched, end quote. Drinking could explain his death, but it doesn't explain his 5-day disappearance or the clothes that he was found in on October 3rd. Snodgrass, the friend who was lettered to help him, was also a member of the temperance movement. After Poe's death, he would give lectures across the country blaming the death on binge drinking. But on April 9th, 2006, samples of Poe's hair were tested and showed levels of lead, which is an indicator that Poe was sober when he died. So,
yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, like the 5-day disappearance, especially when you're someone not well known.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's out in the middle of nowhere. He's in Philadelphia.
Yeah. I have a theory. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Second theory, Beating. In 1867, one of the first theories that deviated from alcohol was published by biographer E. Oak Smith in her article Autobiography Notes Edgar Allan Poe. Quote, at the instigation of a woman who considered herself injured by him, he was cruelly beaten, blown up upon by a ruffian who knew of no better mode of avenging supposed injuries. It is well known that a brain fever followed. Brain fever, that's a fun way of saying swelled brain.
Yeah.
Other accounts also mention, quote, ruffians who had beaten Poe senseless before his death. As Eugene Dieter wrote in his 1872 article, The Grave of Poe, that while in Baltimore, Poe ran into some old military friends and joined them for drinks. Poe, unable to handle his liquor as mentioned above, became pretty twisted. After a glass of champagne, he left his friends, wandering the streets, and it is claimed in his drunken state he was robbed and beaten by ruffians and left insensible in the streets all night.
I've always heard like a combo of 1 and 2. Like he was definitely drunk and then was just found his demise in the streets by the rough lifestyles or what it were.
Yeah. So this next theory is the one that I kind of think. Cooping. Cooping is a method of voter fraud practiced by gangs in the 19th century. An unsuspecting victim would be kidnapped, disguised, and forced to vote for a specific candidate multiple times under multiple disguised identities. Voter fraud was extremely common in Baltimore around the mid-1800s, and the polling site where Walker found Poe was a known place that coopers brought their victims. People also used the fact that Poe was found fucked up on Election Day as proof of this. This is the most popular theory as of to date.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard of that.
It makes all the sense. Also, something that I didn't add in here is that after voting and to encourage voting, a lot of the times polling places would give alcohol as a treat instead of an I voted sticker. You would get like a beer.
Oh, so he just got like messed up that way.
Well, a little mixture of both.
Yeah.
Because they would want you to get like fucked up enough so that they could like put you in like basically like drug you enough so that they could use you to vote in multiple places and you wouldn't be that coherent to give it away. And then also he was like enjoying the gifts of voting. So that would make sense as to why he was so fucked up that he was like unconscious.
Yeah. And then he just ended up falling down, hitting his head.
And why he was in different clothing, why he was gone for 5 days because they were taking him to the different polling locations. Wow. And why it was given up, like why he was found on Election Day, the final day, because they didn't need him anymore. Exactly.
Yeah, that's wild.
A fun one. The next theory is heavy metal poisoning. Remember the hair test I mentioned before? Well, the test did reveal elevated levels of mercury in Poe's system months before his death. According to the results, Poe's mercury levels were most likely elevated as a result of cholera?
It's just cholera, yeah.
Is it cholera? I thought this was saying it was a chemical. He'd been exposed to, the epidemic, duh. In July of 1849, while in Philadelphia. This is what I was getting ready to say. His doctor prescribed calomel.
It looks like calomel, yeah.
Yeah, mercury chloride. Calomel. Mercury poisoning would explain some of his hallucinations and delirium before his death. However, the levels of mercury found in Poe's hair, even at their highest, are still 30 times below the level consistent with mercury poisoning.
We had fucking lead in his hair. That can't be good for you either.
They had a lot. If you look up Edgar Allan Poe hair test, of course, I can't find the site that I was looking at. It shows you the exact breakdowns. Oh, here it is. There was mercury, lead, arsenic, nickel, uranium, and vanadium found in his hair.
Interesting.
So, I just don't think he was well. But they talk about like how sign of the times he probably was drinking most of it, and then like they were literally fucking prescribing it. So.
Yeah, you just get whatever you wanted then, I guess.
Yeah, so. There's that. The last one, which I honestly, this one, it's not as popular, but to me, it's like a tie.
Yeah.
Because it's murder.
Yeah. You couldn't have cooping and murder. Like, if you die because someone cooped you to death, that counts as murder, right?
Yeah, but this is a different type of murder. This is a murder that was alluded to when we learned about him going back to his child sweetheart and her fortune.
Okay.
In the book Midnight Jury, The Mysterious Death of Edgar Allan Poe, author John Walsh presents the theory that Poe was murdered by the brothers of his wealthy fiancée. Remember the $100,000 she could lose if she got married again?
Brothers weren't having it.
He used evidence from newspapers, letters, and memoirs to argue that Poe actually made it to Philadelphia, where he was ambushed by her 3 brothers, who warned Poe against marrying their sister. That's when Poe disguised himself in the new clothes that he got secondhand, hence why he was in a weird little outfit, and hid in Philadelphia for nearly a week. Those 5 days he was missing, before heading back to Richmond to marry her anyway. But he claims her brothers intercepted Poe in Baltimore, where they knew he would be, beat him, and forced him to drink whiskey, which they knew would send him into a deathly sickness.
Wow. Okay. That gets a little weird.
Why?
Just like putting on the clothes to hide in another city, or to hide in the city, and then they force him to drink booze. But I do
But they would know that he had an issue with alcohol, that if after one drink he would be fucked up.
I would rather be like they beat him, robbed him. He had to like get new clothes and was super humiliated, and then decided to self-medicate with whiskey. And as a result of them beating him, he died from drinking himself to death.
I could get behind that one too.
Dude, I can't believe you didn't bring up the Poe toaster.
What's the Poe toaster?
There was, for 75 years, every year on Poe's birthday, somebody would put a red rose on his grave, and nobody knows who it was.
Well, they clearly died, and that's why it stopped happening, yeah?
Yeah, but it started in the 1930s, and then every year until 2009. But but the thing is they would like wear a cloak, right? And they would have like a scarf wrapped around their head. They had a silver cane. And then they would pour a glass of cognac on the grave and then put roses on the grave. And nobody ever fucking found out who it was.
I can't believe no one continued the tradition.
Yeah, I would love to if I was actually there. But there have been like imitators, but nobody's ever like carried on like the full, obviously, like the 75 years of dedication of the person who would go there since the 1930s, and nobody knows who it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder what the theories are on who it is.
I know.
But yeah, so that is Edgar Allan Poe a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot more into his life. He was a very interesting man, but I'm not really interested in that too much. I just want to know what happened. I didn't realize that he died in such like a nefarious way. And there are honestly so many other conspiracies that people have. Like there are even people who think like it was carbon monoxide poisoning. There are so many, but these were just my favorites that made the most sense to me.
Yeah, I do. If I had to subscribe to one, I do agree cooping, even though it's like the least fun.
Well, I mean, yeah,
it's just not as sexy as murder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but it is kind of. I like it is basically kind of murder. Yeah. But I just like imagine. This is what I imagine. I imagine that like it was some, like Baltimore gang or whatever, and of course, like he was popular. Like he was Poe was like a popular guy, recognizable. Yeah. But like, of course, I assume that it's like some young hooligans. You know what I mean? Like, working for the mob who like did this like voter fraud hit, and they just grabbed this guy, not realizing it was Edgar Allan Poe. And then when like their boss found out it was, they were like, "This cannot fucking get out. You guys need to fucking figure it out. Like, no one can fucking know that we're connected to this." So that it kind of makes it a little bit sexier in that way. Yeah. Of like, for me, you know what I mean? Like it was a whole conspiracy. It was layers of conspiracy. It was conspiracy in practicing voter fraud with gangs. And then there was a secondary conspiracy of like, you motherfuckers out of all the people you could have picked, you picked Edgar Allan Poe. Like, I could just imagine. And I would also suspect that, like, that's why there wasn't more about it and, like, no one else coming forward about the cooping thing, because I bet those guys who chose him were also fucking disappeared in the night, you know?
Yeah, probably. Like, it's like all, like, young, it's like you said, like, young idiot hooligans did it.
Yeah, just like, you know, probably some fucking orphans who dropped out of school and were just doing these, like, side jobs, and when they disappeared, no one asked, so I bet they were fucking, you know, so nothing would get out.
Dude, I cannot believe he was only 24 when he died, because he looks so old. He looks like he's like 47.
Yeah. Life was a little tough on him. And I also think that, like, whatever the hereditary issue that he and his sister had, where, like, if they had one drink, they would be blackout. Like, that clearly has got to do something to your body as well. And the fact that he knew that he had that about himself and he never stopped drinking anyway, like, that's going to wreak havoc on you.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that also attributes to why he looks the way he does. Peace and love to him.
Hate to see it.
Yeah, you hate to see it, you hate to say it. But there you go. There's Edgar Allan Poe.
I love that.
I'm glad that you learned something. Yeah. I was your Encyclopedia Britannica today.
And you know what? I didn't realize I had missed it, but I did miss Encyclopedia Britannica. So
yeah, bring it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
bring it back.
I think it was just a website for a while, but before a website, it was a fucking CD-ROM.
Bring it back to the old days.
Yeah.
I know there's nowhere for you to put a CD-ROM in on your laptop, but
no, there isn't.
I bet there's an AI bot out there fucking mimicking one. Also, fuck all that shit, dude. I'm gonna be a hater for a second. I'm so sick of the fucking AI shit. I am so sick of it. And peace and fucking love. You know what I'm saying? Peace and love. You know that I love you. Everyone who did it, you know that I do. But y'all fucking clowns paid $5 to get shitty AI renditions of yourself where you have 10 fingers on one hand done. But you won't even pay $1 to get our Patreon. That's crazy to me. And you can get that link in the link tree in all of our bios at Goat Hell Podcast. I'm at Noelle Fain. That is at Sithlard. And in that, you can find a link to our Patreon. That'll get you in. A link to our Discord. It's a good time in there. We're doing Secret Santa. The link to sign up is in there. I think it ends on the 15th to sign up. I think. Don't quote me on it. Yeah. Check it out. It's always a good time. Everyone gives the best gifts. It's so fun. I love it. You can also find a link to Kelly Holloran or at Wildwood Owls Etsy, where she makes our stickers and her own cool shit too. So check that out. We have links to pro-choice resources. We have links to our Facebook group. I don't know why anyone's on Facebook anymore. And I don't know why you would need it because you're listening to us now, but also links to listen to us. And again, don't support AI bots. Support your local artists. Mm-hmm. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to close out with Hail Encyclopedia Britannica.
I'm going to say Hail. Of course. I'm going to say Hail Satan, but I'm also going to say Hail supporting local artists and not AI. You know what another thing I learned is? Not only is AI fucking with the art industry, AI is also fucking with, like, everything. Translators.
Really?
Translators are now, like, human translators are now losing their jobs or getting underpaid for, the example I saw was, like, they'll just use a translation app, which is AI, and then they'll take the already translated, in heavy quotes, whatever they needed, to the human translator and say, just go through and edit this if you need to. And then the translator will be like, this is all gibberish. And then essentially you have to start over from scratch anyway, but they're getting paid half the price. So,
damn it. Yeah.
I'm going to fist fight the AI.
I wish you the best. You're gonna have to fight fire with fire though, because the only way you can defeat them is by piercing them with their own like talons, right? So you'll have to like make AI boxing gloves.
Yeah. I just become sentient already and kill me. Don't take my job first, just kill me.
Yeah, same. Fucking same, dude.
Just don't take my job first, just kill me. Just kill me. Just kill me. Oh, fucking okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
Bye.
Bye.